In the wake of a COVID-19 pandemic, the whole of the world is going through a massive economic and health crisis. So much so that the whole world will need to reset its economy for the future once this is contained. In due course of time, a lot of thinking will be invested to understand why the impact of COVID-19 was far more pronounced in Europe and US than in China, and whether this was a pure coincidence or more by design. Post-COVID has sown many seeds of doubt in the minds of countries, governments, people about the capabilities, notions about themselves, their government's policy, external threats, their strengths and their weaknesses, and also on the management of how to cope with it. One of the introspections that has been in the world and that is not amusing is about the apathetic attitude of China towards humanity. China had geopolitical and hegemony motives, all new, and all choose to ignore for certain economic gains. A large number of countries have allowed themselves to become over-dependent on China, and that was not China's fault. The emerging world economic order has to prefer a lesser role for China, having understood China better than what they ever knew. What is clear is that the Chinese government's totalitarianism, authorities' deliberate attempt to hide a preventable crisis, a greedy profit-making policy across the world markets, lack of transparency, its geopolitical ambitions, robot-like and poker-faced traders, will continue to hurt the world. Moreover, it has been noticed again that China has always aspired to exert greater influence in international agencies like UN and increase its military and economic footprints across the world. Even now, China is moving in a space created by acute need for help for medical assistance and supplies. Other countries are unable to fill that gap, and even some instances have been exposed of faulty supplies as well. This puts the design and intent of the Chinese in question. Chinese may have fooled and misguided the world by COVID-19 today. So, today it is COVID-19, tomorrow it will be well over 100 researched viruses from Wuhan laboratory and more deadly than corona, which they can go on to be inserting it in any aeroplane or drop it like a bomb without exploding. Tomorrow it may be their financial system. Day after tomorrow it will be Huawei. It will be their software and the army of technical people who will go to cripple the whole of the world data. And who knows, it will be their blackmail-like bargaining, all of which the world doesn't know but are unable to come to terms with this intent. We never know what the Chinese, having had their presence heralded in every house in the world, is capable of creating a massive disruption through its mobile application, mobile apparatus, through its supplies and through its intents in South China Sea, international stock market and recent acquisitions. The growth model of the West is based on consumerism, which means work, earn and spend. This model needs massive scale production which could cater to high demand, splurging and consumerism-driven hunger. It also requires a big market so that the companies could sell products that they have manufactured. China provided both, but at a price. For the world, it was never wise to put all eggs in one basket and shifting 80% of the supply chains to China just on considerations of making profit or savings revenue, and it was myopically unsustainable policy. Having understood that, for the West, it will be unwise to tolerate China's ethics and principles and must go on to find an alternative model. They are contemplating. World will be contemplating. Would it be wise to continue to rely on China? Is it wise to rely on consumerism? Isn't that there are alternative models for people to feel what they are for the purpose of development, for the purpose of being happy? Isn't that there are other countries as well which can go on to fit the bill without jeopardizing their security and their peace. Indeed, philosophically, nature has forcibly reset our choices and placed us at crossroads where the way ahead involves re-establishing the status quo or evolve into a system where no one is more equal than the other and power is not concentrated in the hands of a few. The world need to have alternative to China for production, an alternative to soothe their souls, an alternative model of development, an alternative way of life, an alternative thinking by way of which the deprived will go on to get empowered and the affluent do not risk their peace by being consumers. There are many implications of a global change and all of the global changes that point to a lessening dependence on China and declining Chinese influence and the market. In a way, thanks to COVID-19, India presents a very viable alternative to not only replace China, but also to become the biggest manufacturer of companies wanting to de-risk their China-based manufacturing. India can go on to do everything what the world wants, like the Chinese, but not only for itself, it can do it for the whole of the world. Of course, there is a clear reliability crisis for the Chinese government, which is not with India. A recent UBS report has gone so far as to label India as the leading destination for companies that want to move out of China, as India's foreign direct investment doubled in 2019. The migration involved not just smartphones or electronics, but a wide range of industries from food to pharmaceuticals. In this context, India is very well positioned to help build a more peaceful, non-manipulative, but dynamic and sustainable world. And that too, without the prospect of a powerful India becoming as ruthless as a powerful China. And the most important, India doesn't have an expansionist policy or any dream of a global conquest that is associated with China. India, with all of its political and demographic advantage, has the capability and potential to develop a scale and speed that the world demands. Based on Global Competitiveness Index, India is the most competitive country in South Asia. India has a competitive advantage in the services including information technology, services, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology and medical tourism sector. Right now, it is particularly ripe for market reforms as well. And there are other factors that are going in favor. India is the number one offshoring destination in the world, accounting for a very large market share of the world's third largest startup ecosystem. This can only increase. The country is also the world's largest cutting and polishing center for diamonds, the fourth largest auto market, the largest manufacturer of two-wheelers, and is the world's third heavy truck manufacturer and fourth largest car producer in the present scenario. Indian people may not have worked like robots, but are not manipulative, not schemers. Indians are more simple, more transparent, more negotiable, more God-fearing, more truthful, and more understanding, and always assimilative in nature. India is a democracy with all of its internal problems. It will never expel or silence the journalists or whistleblowers like what happens in a communist country. Geopolitically speaking, apart from the United States, if there is one country in the entire world that is able to contain China and create goodwill for humanity in the long run, it is India. India shows every glimpse to be the center of globalization. Spread globalization, take part in globalization, glamorize globalization, and create several new models of globalization as well. India has a growing young population and an emerging market power. Consumerist markets like West may see it become the next China, but it has many more models of world transformations to offer to the world, not only as a manufacturing destination. India's medical facilities have shown resilience, easy availability, quickness, and price of affordability, and that too amid all adversities and it qualifies to solve health problems of many countries in the world, including Latin American countries, which are actually reeling under some severe health crisis. India has a lot to offer for immunity management in the health sector and its offer for cheaper health services to the whole of the world. Given India's competitive advantage in terms of land and labor availability, exports have always been in big hope historically, but now it seems to turn as a global manufacturers long settled in China are looking to diversify their manufacturing base. India has a scale advantage and key success factors locally, and they are all improving as well. India can develop a minimalistic living model for the whole of the world, and India experiences different geographical conditions, so many different historical experiences, so many different paths to development, so many different thinking cultural backgrounds for it to be replicating these models in the world and to create such type of models in different parts of the world. India has a massive potential to grow. Just 35 years ago, India and Chinese economy had similar exports. The Chinese economy experienced massive growth, in part due to substantial market-friendly reforms. If a communist country which doesn't speak English or share little values with the Western world can serve the whole of the world economy, so can India. With a faltering economy, the appetite for economic reforms would be high. India is in desperate need for structural reforms, and COVID-19 could be very helpful for political posturing of reforms. India has massive advantage in the form of demographic dividend, which is the best and the highest in the world. India will go on to have the highest number of young people anywhere in the world. India is in a better position to launch itself for a new blue ocean strategy based on gig economy with reduced consumption, minimalistic living, and with a focus on individual talent identification and enhancement through the digital solution to spur up new growth opportunities in education, entertainment, services, and even medicine as well. Of course, India does have infrastructure inadequacies. Still, companies like Apple that have been dead against making their phones here historically have finally capitulated to opening up their manufacturing shops in the country. Its contract manufacturer, Foxconn, has started making iPhone XR in Chennai. There is a saying, never let a crisis go in West. This crisis is an opportunity for India. It's a crisis in opportunity for the world as well. Once in a lifetime opportunity to reset itself and regain whatever it had lost. And if India is not able to do it, it will have itself only to blame, no one else.